Hi, I'm Todd Rollin, and welcome to the Decision Hero video series, where we profile thought leaders in a variety of topics. Today, I'm joined by Liz Lasher, Vice President, Fraud Protection and Compliance at FICO. Welcome, Liz,
Hey Todd, great to be here with you.
and it's great to have you here too, Liz. Um, you're one of our decision heroes, an expert on fraud and financial crimes, and today we'll be talking about biometrics. First, can you briefly explain how biometrics work in the fight against fraud?
Sure. You, to me, biometrics are a core part of a broader ecosystem of something I would call customer identity management. So when I'm talking about customer identity management, what I'm referring to are processes that an organization takes to establish who a customer is and then assure that the activity on their accounts is carried out by that correct person. So CIM, customer identity management, it plays a really critical role in fraud and financial crimes prevention because it means that organizations are confident they're working with the right person. And so, for example, Todd, when you're logging into your online banking account, your bank needs to authenticate you are you and not someone who's pretending to be you. This makes sure and it ensures that financial institutions are protecting their customers, but they're also managing their own risk and they're trying to balance security, all while making it really seamless, simple, streamlined for their customers. So, biometrics, they're just part of customer identity management, and they're an authentication type that we call inherence. Or something that you are. And there's a few different methodologies that you can use. You can have physical biometrics, so these are things like facial recognition, or fingerprints, or voice biometrics. The ones most people are commonly think of when they hear the word biometrics. But you can also have something called behavioral biometrics. And this would be, for example, how you type or how you walk. These are unique to you as an individual, Todd. And so it's this latter category that can be really helpful in reducing friction for customers because you can increase security invisibly without impacting the end customer.
Okay, Liz. Following you so far. But as we allow technologies like biometrics to create, I guess, what we call virtual twins of ourselves, doesn't it ultimately expose us to more risk if someone hacks us?
I That's a fair question. Realistically, I would say that for biometrics and other identity information, it's already out there. It's already been hacked. Much of it has been made public by ourselves as consumers by using things like social media. But then we all have driver's licenses and other places that we put our data out there into the world. So to me, what I'm more focused on is yes, how do we protect this information, prevent it from being hacked as much as possible, but also how do we create layered control so that we can assume that our information has been stolen, and that therefore making sure that that information that's been stolen isn't enough to expose us to things like account takeover or identity theft. So how do we increase security controls as appropriate and in a risk-based manner that ensures that we can properly verify identities? It's interesting though, because I think that organizations do have the perception that customers are reluctant to use biometrics, and really this should be holding businesses back because we conducted a recent study at FICO, and we found that 2/3 of Americans are prepared to actually provide a biometric to their bank knowing that it's going to help with security. And I think that's really fantastic that consumers are more and more open to helping protect themselves further in this ecosystem.
That's a really telling statistic that a majority of consumers are okay with sharing biometric with their banks. I personally didn't expect that. Do you have any other insights that you'd like to add related to these topics?
Yeah, I think one important thing I would add is that to me, customer identity management, so again, broader than biometrics, it should be a straight through process. It should be consistent. When you carry out your identity proofing for your new customers, you should also be setting them up or enrolling them, preferably in the same system, for future authentication for whenever they're going to use their accounts, because it creates more security in that enrollment process. And then because information from authentication is so critical, it can also be used to provide really important context for fraud decisions. So at FICO, we are in the space of real-time fraud transaction decisioning. And so if we can use information from authentication in that decisioning flow, it makes it that much more robust. So I'm going to give you an example, Todd. Let's say you're in Thailand and we see a transaction where you as the customer, you're buying scuba equipment. Normally for you, this would look really strange from a transaction fraud perspective because you don't normally do that. Okay. And so if we looked at that data on its own, we might stop the transaction. We might say, Todd's not buying equipment in Thailand. His car has been compromised. However, if we can take in the information from your device or other customer identity management data and that you're using for authentication for when you initiated payments, geolocation is going to tell us that you are there. You are, in fact, in Thailand. The transaction can go ahead, and that's a better experience for you because you're on holiday. You're trying out a fun new hobby, and it's a more secure experience for us as a financial institution. So biometrics, additional authentication measures, to me, they're all about finding that balance between security and the customer experience.
That's great, Liz. Thank you for clarifying that and giving us some more insights and depth about what biometrics can do, both for business and consumers. Um, for those of you out there, if you want to learn more from our fraud experts, including Liz, check us out at our FICO community in the fraud section. Liz, thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.